stand. There's a bunch of retired teachers who are going to start homeschooling.
I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, hold on.
Except for my host disabled that.
yeah. I'm gonna turn it over to you here.
Okay.
Okay, you are now the host.
I'm the host. Okay.
And we are recording, so.
All right.
Take it away, Shondell.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I am going to share my screen as soon as I remember how to do it. Okay, there we go. So, welcome to our session here on, hold on. I know I can move this little box. There we go. On Google Tools. And here's the thing that is, I think, kind of funny. When I designed this course, I actually submitted 2 one-hour proposals to Ryan, and he was like, hey, can you put it all together in a session? And I was like, absolutely. So I think what I did is I designed a workshop, and in my mind, this was just kind of a K-12 conference, and then after all the interactions we've had ahead of time, I realized that not everybody's in the K-12 classroom, which is perfect. That's awesome. I just am in the habit of using that because I am a high school teacher. So I think that even if you're not in the K-12 classroom, you will find tools that you can use and will be super helpful for you. So let me see. There we go. So this is me. I'm Shondell, and I am about to start my 20th year as a teacher, and I've been at Billings Senior High the entire time, so I am super lucky there. I was a English teacher for 10 years, and I taught 9 through 12, all the grades. And then now I do tech integration and library. So I come with a whole gamut of different ideas. I've worked with tons of different teachers for the last 10 years as a tech integration specialist. So even though I come from that English background, I kind of am able to, I feel like, bring some of those outside ideas because I've worked with teachers across the district, across the state for so long. So actually, before we start, we're gonna just jump straight, oh, nope, timeout, we're not. A couple of norms for you, and these are super basic norms. If you can mute your computer when you're not talking, that's super helpful, just because I know how much these, virtual meetings pick up that outside noise. If you have questions, please ask. I know that you can use the chat, and Alan will help me remember that there are questions and things in the chat. If you want to back channel on Twitter with the hashtag MOOT, then please do. And I'm going to introduce you to a tool called Jamboard that I've set up too if you want to ask questions. So I welcome all of the questions. I designed this to be workshopy in 3 hours. In actuality, we may not get through everything, and that's okay. This is for you. So you definitely ask the questions and things that you need to make this a successful, workshop for you. We're all learners here. I guarantee that in the next 3 hours, I will learn things as well, even though I've been using Google for 15 plus years. If you need a break, take one. Just mute your computer. That's if you leave the room, that's all we ask. I will, we'll talk about some tools, and then I'll give you some time to work on them, like 10 or 15 minutes to kind of experiment with the tools. So there's kind of built-in break time, but I know I will forget to say, hey, let's take a stretch break, stand up, do something. So take that as you need it. And most importantly, have fun. By the end of this, I am hoping that you, yeah.
One thing, Shondell, I do want to mention that we are recording, so if you do need to take a break, you can go back later and watch it,
Yes.
anything you missed. And I will be saving the chat afterwards, so we'll have that available in the course, so you can go back and look at any questions that were raised or any discussion in the chat. If you do not want your input listed in the chat, just let me know, and I'll make sure to delete all of your entries. So, just in the interest of privacy and all that, so.
Okay, let me draw you back up to this with our awesome moderator, Alan, who knows all the tricks, and I am incredibly thankful for. So like I was saying, last of all, just have fun. Like it is my hope that you walk out of here with at least one tool, if not 4 or 5 that you can use. Enjoy it, have fun, and definitely like make this session for you. Ask the questions, do the work that you need to do. I totally would recommend that you maybe have another tab or another window open where you can experiment and kind of play along with the tools as we go along. That is my intent, is that this is hands-on for you and you don't just sit there and listen to me talk for 3 hours, because that's a long 3 hours. So I am going to start off with a Jamboard. And actually what I did is I am so new to Moodle, and it looks like, if I go back here, that I have learned a lot this week, and I did pop a Jamboard link onto the class page here. So I believe if you open this link, you will get to this Jamboard with me. It worked. Yay. So here's the thing. We're going to talk about Jamboard later too. If you have ever used Padlet, basically Jamboard is really, really similar to Padlet. It's just that online collaborative sticky program. The one thing Padlet has that Jamboard does not is Padlet allows you to moderate and Jamboard doesn't. So I'm trusting you all to be appropriate, like I would tell my high school students, right? So as you can see, a Jamboard is just a big interactive whiteboard. You can write or draw, and you can upload pictures, which all this back here is a picture I made, and I'll show you how I did that later on. Or the easiest way to interact is to click on a sticky note and then just start typing. Hi, I'm, oops, Shondell. I can't type in front of people. Grundlings. And you can change the colors if you want to. And then when you save it, it is just popped into your board. What you'll notice is that they all want to go to the same place. So when a bunch of us are on here playing with this tool, you do have to kind of squish them out of the way so they don't stack up. But I can move these, I can make them bigger. Here's the other thing, I can also delete them, which I would honestly think most students are going to do that accidentally. It's not going to be an intentional thing. So Jamboard is a really easy tool to use. You can see that the learning curve is next to nothing, except you might run into some accidental, I deleted this, I accidentally moved this, whatever happened. So I wouldn't use this for anything super formal, but it's really helpful for me as a super fast way to look around and see who I've got here, where you guys are from, what you teach. Yay, so many Billings people in here. That's awesome. And what I learned in my morning session is, holy cow, there's so many people from outside of Montana. This is my first Mountain Moot, and it is crazy awesome to form these connections. I am loving it. So you are obviously becoming pro at using this tool with very little instruction from me. The other thing I want to point out is up here at the top, I did create a second board just if you wanted to share ideas, if you have an aha moment, if you already use a tool in your class and you have something you can share. Feel free to use the chat, feel free to use Twitter, feel free to use this page on Jamboard. You can also add your own page. If you just click this arrow here, you can add your own page and do your entire own page of ideas or anything. So, but I just wanted to make a place where we could easily dump ideas and share and things like that if you didn't want to use the chat or anything like that. So this is Jamboard, and now I kind of have a better idea of who's in here. Except for, I think somebody cleared my frame. So this button right here is clear frame, and it clears everything, okay? Which again, it's a learning curve thing. I have used this in I think 3 now virtual classrooms that I'm teaching, and it's been a super successful tool. Again, not for anything permanent. This is not where I would grab an assessment and keep it forever, okay? So I'll be hopping in and out of my presentation. I hope that that doesn't bug you guys, that I'll travel around a lot. So I just sprung on you right away a new tool to use. And now I'll kind of go over like the things I wanted to make sure we cover today. First of all, I designed this course to cover the 4 C's. So we'll go over those very quickly and talk about how these Google tools fit into those. We're going to cover kind of the G Suite basics, which are docs, slides, and sheets. And I lump forms in there because for me, forms and sheets go together so well. And then I'll throw in some Google extras. We'll talk about drawings. I just introduced you to Jamboard. We'll use Google Keep. And I actually am lying on that. I'm going to delete it over here on my other one. We are not going to get to sites. There's just no way we're going to have time for that. So I just deleted that off the presentation. And then tossed in here, I will do some tips and tricks and extensions and add-ons that will help your workflow. And really some of them are just fun tools that will allow you to be a little more creative and in your lessons, and also your students to be more creative and in what they're turning in for you. So first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Google Chrome Omnibar. What I have learned in my many years of this job is that a lot of people don't know that this guy right here, the URL bar really in Google is called the Omnibar. And so in that, you can do a number of different tricks. There are some really cool things that you can do. For example, now I'm not down here in my Google, in my window, in my search, right? I'm just up here in the Omnibox, and I'm gonna type set a timer. I'll do set a 2-minute timer. And once I type that in, you will see that Google automatically gets to a 2-minute timer and it just starts it. So I try to use this because while I can go out and find fun and fancy YouTube timers, most of the time when I'm teaching in a class or facilitating something, I just want that super fast timer. I don't want to take the time to go out and find that fancy stuff. I have learned it starts automatically, so hit stop if you don't want it to go off in 2 minutes. You can also use the Omnibox to do things like do some basic math like 2 times 3 plus 4. Whoops. Let's go plus 4. And you can see that Google does that math for me right away. Okay. You can use the Omnibox for things like roll a die. And if you needed a die to roll in your classroom, you can have anywhere from a 4-sided die up to a 20-sided die that you could roll and just use that in class. So the thing I love about this is those are tools that you can find in so many different places. You can find some of those in YouTube. Some of it you will use like a smart notebook or a Mimeo or some kind of software like that that has it, but you don't have to go out and find it if you're in the middle of a class. You can also do flip a coin. And something that I really like is I'm just gonna pull this document here and highlight a word. And whoops. Sorry, I'm using my MacBook and I haven't done this in a while. So let's actually go down here and let's, I'll just highlight this guy, highlight online. And if I pull this up here and hit enter, it's going to define that word for me. So for me, this is a really handy tool to show students if they're maybe reading something, maybe they're in an article and they don't know what a word means, they can see the definition right away. And then just by simply hitting the back button, they'll get back to where they were before. So that's the Omnibox, just some easy things that you can do right away just using, using Google Chrome, okay? So I just covered those guys. And so now super quick, what are the 4 C's? The 4 C's kind of replaced the phrase like 21st century learning once we realized that it's 2020 and we're well into the 21st century. And basically the 4Cs are just those skills that we as educators decided are the skills that are important for students to have that transcend the content area. So it's not just what I'm teaching in science or just what I'm teaching in history. These are the skills that you can teach in any content area, and are those kind of like future ready skills that students will need. They need to know how to collaborate. They need to know how to think critically. Creativity is huge, and we want to make sure that we're not stifling creativity. And then those communication skills. And what I have found is that Google covers each of those things just in its nature. So when you're working in the G Suite, just by definition, all of those things are collaborative. Therefore, if you're working with if students are working together, they're going to be communicating with each other. These tools are also really great for allowing you to create tasks that engage your students in a different way and help them with that critical thinking aspect. And here's what I know. I've been a Google junkie for about 15 years. I was introduced at a conference so long ago that I was still using dial-up internet, and Google was invite only, and I loved it. And so I made my high school students create a Google account, which totally unethical now. My only excuse was I was young and it was a long time ago, but I have just jumped into this and I love these tools. I know that some people feel the exact same way about like Microsoft 360 and all of those things. So I'm not saying, there's no part of me that's ever going to say that Google's the only thing that can achieve these 4Cs. I just know how easy it is as an educator to hit a lot of these goals using the tools we'll talk about today. Okay, so that's kind of my intro to the 4Cs. So we're going to jump right into Google Docs, and I'm going to pop out to a Google document that I created for this. This is just a lorem ipsum document. I seriously Googled lorem ipsum, copied the text and pasted it in just so I had something to work with as a sample here. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on Google Docs because I feel like probably the tool that most people are proficient in is Microsoft Word, or Pages if you use Apple products. Word processing is probably the first thing a lot of us learn how to do on a computer. So I won't go into a ton of that, but I do want to talk about some of the quick perks of Google Docs. My favorite thing about this is that there is no software and no license that is required for any of these tools. All you need is a Google account, and that is free. So we've been a Google school district for at least 10 years, probably longer. And so I work in a place where all of my students from, I think it's now grades 3 through 12, have a Google account. So all of these are accessible to them. And during our distance learning this spring, I think they opened it up for even grades lower than that so that students could work from home. So just that fact that it doesn't take a license, you don't have to purchase anything. Even in your personal life, you can just create a personal Google account and have access to all of these things. Another thing I love about like Google, especially Google Docs, is it is real-time collaboration. This share button up here allows me to share with anyone, not just as someone who can edit or view, but I can publish that. So for example, my presentation I published on our Moodle site yesterday. And so even if I'm making changes now, it's always up to date. I don't have a file that I uploaded. It's a live link that remains live as long as I work on it. So those are just kind of some of the things I really, really love about Google Docs. Some of the things I wanted to show you that you may not know you can do is in a Google Doc, it's very easy to create a table of contents. And this is really handy if you have a long document that's kind of ongoing, or if you're sharing something collaboratively and your students are working on it at the same time. So I am just going to go to my Insert tab, and I'm going to insert a table of contents. And it's going to do this thing. This little box is going to be added up there. I don't have to do anything with that. I can just go down into my content, and all I have to do to make that table of contents work is follow the instructions here. I'm going to go, I highlight this, and I'm going to go up here to my paragraph styles, or I could go here to format and then paragraph styles, and I'm going to make that a heading. So when I make this a heading and then I click back up here and hit refresh, you can see that it's going to add a link to that heading right there. So then if I keep going down and I add second paragraph, whoops, spelled that wrong, didn't I? And I highlight this and do the exact same thing. I'm not going to go to format. I'm just going to use my toolbar here. It's going to add that heading there. Then I can go here if I wanted to my conclusion and do the exact same thing. All I'm doing is making that a heading. Then when I pop back up here to this table of contents bar and do a refresh, you can see that it makes a table of contents. And the really nice thing is that it links it. So the longer a document is, the nicer it is for you to be able to switch to a section and get to that. This is a tool that I found when I was actually working on a collaborative document with students that was getting to be like 7 or 8 pages. Another tip, if you want to find something, is on a Mac, you'd hit Command. On a PC or a Chromebook, you'd hit Control. Command F brings up that Find in document. So I could do a search for conclusion if I wanted to, and just scroll through those. But when you've got, 20 some kids working on a document, it's really nice to just divide it in a way that everybody can easily navigate. So that is using the table of contents and the text styles here. Another fun tip that I know that people like is you can get crazy with your bullets. So I could just make plain bullets on this document. I could also scroll here and look at some of my other bullet choices. But what I found is that people really like to use emojis, myself included. So all I did is I highlighted this one little bullet here. If I right click on that and go to more bullets, I can grab some emoji bullets. Okay, so if I'm just in my symbols, I can go to emoticons. If I go to emoji, it's just like on my phone. I use this when I am making outlines for students of like upcoming lesson plans or upcoming dates, just because honestly, sometimes it draws their attention more than just a plain bullet. So if I wanted to do, I'll just do a peace sign there. Come on. So I'm having a problem with this window over here. There we go. So you can see here that I have my peace sign, and then now anytime I want to add a bullet, you have emoji bullets, which are super fun. If you're on a Mac, you don't even, you can insert emojis at any time, and the keyboard command for that is Command Control Space. And if you click that, let me move this window again. I know that I can make it smaller. Boom, there we go. Okay, so Command Control Space brings up an emoji keyboard for you on a Mac, where you could also add an emoji in your document that way. Okay, which I do enjoy doing as well. Again, just to draw attention to items is kind of why I do that. And then the very last thing that I see that people maybe need a little bit of help with is adding images and then making sure that they're right.
Enjoy your day. Thanks for coming in.
So what I want to show you is I'll insert an image this way on this time. I just went up to insert, and I'm going to grab an image from the web. And we'll do a search for my favorite thing ever, golden retrievers. And we'll find this cute boy. And I'm just going to insert him right into my paper. So the thing that I think people don't always realize is that you can wrap the text in Google Docs. It is definitely not as sophisticated as like Word is or Pages. But all I did is click on that and you can see it brings up the handlebars. And then I can wrap the text around it. I can switch my margin, and when you're really going to see that is if I shrink this picture down, you can see that it will wrap around that picture, so you can still have that kind of professional looking text wrap even in Google Docs. It doesn't have to just be a giant picture that takes up space, and it doesn't have to be you know, set on its own, okay? If I take my text wrap, it will also move with the text. So if I type more up here and add more spaces and things like that, you can see that the picture stays right after this line right here. If I just want it to say stay the same place on that page, I'm gonna just say fixed position. Then even if I add more lines of text, it's going to stay there, okay? So I know I did not go over any of the basics of Google Docs, but like I said, I feel like most of us are at least comfortable with using a word processor. So I just wanted to kind of show you some of the more advanced features of that. And I'm going to jump into what could be my favorite tool of all time. And I promise after this, I will give you a chance to play around in slides, and then we'll share some work, because there are going to be some moot coins distributed after this session, because I think that that is super fun. So Google Slides. Google Slides is super similar to PowerPoint and Keynote in the sense that it is a tool to create a presentation. You can add speaker notes, which I do because I forget to talk about things all the time. So actually on another computer, I just have this presentation pulled up so I make sure I can address my speaker notes, because I'm not gonna print out 67 pages. I can't keep track of that, okay? You can also do things like autoplay videos in a Google Slide. And that is as simple, I'll just do it in here, as going to insert. And the cool thing is you can do a video search directly in YouTube. So this is dangerous because I haven't, we'll just do this. Hamilton lyrics. So I find this video I want to use, I select it, and it can just pop directly into my presentation. Here's my favorite thing. I can decide if I want that to autoplay. So that means once I click onto this slide, boom, Hamilton just starts playing. I can also say, I want it to start at 2 minutes and 20 seconds in and end at 2 minutes and 55 seconds in, and it's only going to show that little chunk. Because YouTube is a Google product, they mesh really well together. ... I know that's depending on if your district allows YouTube in the classroom. You could also do this with a file from your computer. You can upload a video and have that play as well. So it doesn't have to be a YouTube video at all for that to happen. Okay. I'm going to delete that guy so it's not hanging out in my presentation. The other thing you can do is you can do closed captioning, and what that does is that will create a transcript. So as you're speaking, the closed captioning will play for you. And you know what I did not do? I've used this before, but I don't use it often. And so I did not go back and make sure I knew where that was. Caption. During one of the breaks, I'm going to figure that out for you, so you don't have to watch me do a search, okay? The other thing about slides is that they're collaborative. You can publish them, you can share them, just like any of the other Google products. And those are the basics of Google Slides. But wait, There is so much more. The reason slides is probably my favorite tool is I use it for creation in, I would say, a solid 70% of what I do. I linked on here some of the things that I've created and that I've had students create. What I've found is that it's really awesome that I can create these things, and it's really great that I can distribute them, but the power really comes when our students are able to create something. So in order for me to help my students create, I have to be familiar enough with it, but I don't have to be the expert. I just have to be the one who is giving them the ideas. It's okay if I don't have all the answers, as long as I can either figure out where to get them or help empower my students to find those. So I linked some things I've created because I don't have access to student files right now because there was just a domain switch. So I could only use the ones that I've created right now, but I pulled up a few of those things just so you could see how I've used slides before. So this is a slide that I made. It's 8.5 by 11. I made it paper size. And what this is just an instruction sheet for my staff on how to generate a parent email list in PowerSchool. Because we went distance learning overnight, a lot of people didn't know how to generate that parent email list in order to contact them. So I made a quick handout for them. It was actually an old handout I just updated that they could use for that. And I color coded it and made it pretty because that's what I like to do, and it's far more appealing to look at. So what I can do here, because I said it's shareable, is I could take a screenshot of this if I wanted to, or I can just download this as a picture or a PDF, or I usually just email it as an attachment out of slides, and then I send it to my staff and they get just a nice PDF that they can click on. If they like to print things, they can print it super easily. And then they have a handout that's right at their fingertips on how to complete a task. Another thing I've done using slides is I coached cheerleading for many, many years. And instead of paying a company hundreds of dollars, I would just use slides to design a ticket. So all this is a series of text boxes and lines that I used in order to create a ticket. And the kids just went online and found a ticket they kind of liked. And I copied a lot of the like kind of Art Deco feeling of it and made a ticket. And then I sent this to my print shop to print, and we printed like 600 for 30 bucks instead of spending hundreds of dollars on tickets. It is just text boxes and then lines and shapes on here. That's the only thing I did. When I was done, I did grab this as a picture and then print 6 to a page. So we only needed to print 100 copies total. Let me see, I got to cheat a little bit here. Interactive worksheets. This is actually an interactive worksheet that one of my friends designed. And I wanted to show you because while she did the designing on a slide, this is something that the students were able to work on at home. And all it is a very quick tool that they can drag, why is it not letting me edit that? Oh, I'm only in, shoot. I'm gonna pop back over here really quick. This is just a different Google account. So if I go to this slide, sorry, I didn't realize my view only wouldn't, I didn't think about it. And I go here, this is the slide that I had copied. So if I'm a student and I'm still in a copy, hold on, I got this, recent. There we go. Here it is. So if I'm a student and my teacher has shared this with me like in Google Classroom so that I get my own copy, all I have to do is drag and drop these things right in there. So it would be cool for your students to be able to do a quick review with a drag and drop, because this would be very easy for you to grade and assess. With very little practice, your kids could actually build an activity similar to this. So not only would they understand how that plant works, but then they would also be understanding how how to really get into slides and use it for more than just the basics. All these are text boxes, and then in the background, this is a yellow banner that looks like sand, and then she just brought in different parts of a plant with by using the insert button and doing a search like I showed you in Google Docs. Okay, so while this looks kind of complicated, it's actually a very simple tool to use. And the beauty of using PowerPoint, or not PowerPoint, I'm sorry, Google Slides on this is the fact that it's easy to manipulate all those text boxes around. And that is honestly why I use it for so much of my creation, like when I'm making tickets and things, because it is super easy for me to move things around, and I'm not confined to a certain space. I have another tip for you. If you don't like what you did, a quick Command Z is undo. It is probably the command I use most of all, and it just takes things right back to where you had them when you liked them. Okay, so one more thing. I also used Google Slides to create my resume and my CV. And the reason I did it is because I couldn't fit everything in just one document, a one-page document. And the other thing I wanted is I wanted something that I could send out and it would be interactive. So I could print this. I can print my resume. I made this as an 8.5 by 11 size document. You'll notice it's not the same size as my slides on here. I did that by just going to File and then scrolling down to Page Setup, and that's where you can adjust your dimensions. This is, I don't even, oh, I know why this is. I imported a template and that's why these are the dimensions. But going here, I could edit these numbers and make it just a 8.5 by 11 page of paper. So I could print this and actually bring it with me. Or if I send this, all of these links in here that are blue that you see are active. So if I'm sending a resume out, a potential employer could click on those items in order to find out more about what I'm talking about. So it allowed me to fit a lot of information on one page and then a whole lot more because it's got those links in it. Okay. And let's see, a few tips I wanted to show you. I showed you how to resize. I have one tip for images that I need everybody to know. I watch many people struggle with resizing images by grabbing the handlebars at the top and then the side to try to get the dimensions correct. Please grab it at the corner. It makes resizing objects stay within that ratio that it was before, and it's only a one drag in order to resize those. I showed you how to drag and drop an image out of the search. You can also, I'm just gonna go back here. You can drag and drop out of another tab, Google search. So to find these, I just Googled Google Slides. I popped it in the Omnibox, and then I clicked on images. Actually, I think I just clicked right over here on this picture, and it took me to images. And what I was able to do is, I think I actually, what I found is if I use the one from Wikipedia, it was actually better, and I'll show you why. So this little icon right here is the one that I would drag and drop. What happens is I try to find the icons that have a transparent background. So you can see as I resize this, see how there's not like a white border or anything crazy around it. I was able to find a Google slide with a transparent background and just drag it in. So here, I'll go back to Google Slides, and I'm just gonna take the first image I find here. And all I have to do is grab this guy, whoops, and then I can drag it. I'm just holding down my mouse and scrolling over to my presentation, and I can drag it and drop that image right in. You can see this doesn't have a transparent background. See how it covers up what's in the background right here? the transparent background doesn't cover what's there. And it's hard to see on a white background, but if you can imagine, if I had a like a pink background, this white would just cover that up and it doesn't look as clean. So as often as I can, I try to find an image with a transparent background. I love using this, but I'm also super careful to remind my students, if you are going to drag and drop from Google, you need to pay that creator the correct attributes, excuse me. So I can't just steal these photos. I do have to make sure they're either coming from a Creative Commons site or I'm giving credit for that photo. Let me see, go back here. Oh, I want to show you how to mask images. So this image right here is masked, and I'll undo it. When I imported this image in, it was a square, and I wanted it to be a fun shape. So I just clicked up here on my crop image, and when I grabbed my shapes, this is how I was able to mask my image. I can mask it in any shape I want. Maybe I want it to be a heart. And any image will show in that shape. Okay, it's just masking an image, and any of the shapes, arrows, callouts, or equations in Google can be used as a mask for those images. Ordering and grouping. Okay, actually I will talk about that. So let's take this guy back here, and you can see that, remember, I don't have a transparent background, or I don't have a transparent image here, so it's covering up my text, and I don't want it to. So this is where I would need to teach my students about the ordering, and there's two ways I can do that. I can either right click on this guy and click on the order and then tell it to go backward, or on a Mac, I can just do a quick command down arrow. Whoops, you have to have that selected. And do you see how the text is appearing as I push it down? Down makes it go backwards and up makes it come to the front. On a PC or a Chromebook, it's control arrow. And that's just the easy way to reorder items so that they can be, you can push things to the back so they don't cover up important text. And then the very last thing I have is I used Slides Mania to get this template. So I didn't do any of the fun colors or anything on this slides template. I just went to Slides Mania and made a copy of one of theirs. And you can see it has the attribute on most of the slides. Slides Carnival is another site that you can go to. And all they are is just great sites to get some fun new templates if you use a lot of Google. So when I said, oh, I don't know why my page size is custom, I did not, here we go, page setup is custom. This is what it imported with Slides Mania. This was the dimensions that my slide came preset with, okay? Okay, I promise one other thing, and then I'm gonna have you guys play around a little bit. I wanna show you two tools that I use kind of a lot. The first one is my Bitmoji extension. And so that takes us into a quick talk about what are extensions and add-ons. What they do is they increase the functionality of what you're using. So an extension in Google Chrome increases the functionality of my browser of Google Chrome. These are my extensions that live in, like, right above my bookmarks bar. And then some more of them live here under this little puzzle piece. The ones I use most often live outside of it. The ones I don't use as often live under the puzzle piece. Because I don't access them as much, I kind of hide them so that they don't, because my entire bookmark bar would be filled up here if I didn't do that. Add-ons are basically extensions for a specific tool. So you can see here, I'm in Slides, and I have some add-ons installed in here. These I find by just going to get add-ons. There are different add-ons for slides, for docs, for sheets, for forms. all of those you can go and find different add-ons, and clicking the Get Add-ons button will take you to the Google Chrome store for Slides add-ons, okay? So one of the extensions I love the most is my Bitmoji extension. I told you already, I really like emojis. I think they're fun. The thing I love about this extension is, once again, when I'm in a program, if I want to use one of my Bitmojis, it is a very simple drag and drop. So all I did was activate that extension, and then I can drag and drop this Bitmoji into my presentation. And again, I have this picture highlighted, so if I do my command down arrow, you can barely see it, but the ONS of add-ons and then browser is going to pop to the front, and now they're in front of that picture and you can read it. Okay, the other thing that is probably my favorite ever part of Bitmoji is clicking on this. I work at Senior High in Billings. We are hashtag Bronc Nation. We call everything Bronc Nation. And if I were on my phone or just in my regular Bitmoji, using that in my browser, I would not have this feature. If I search for Bronc Nation, nothing would come up. But when I'm using this extension and I search for Bronc Nation, look what happens. Now, look what happens. This is not the Bronc Nation icon or Bitmoji that I'd want to use. This is one I might want to use. So if I don't like any of them, I just click out of that. Then once I click in here again and I retype Bronc Nation, new ones are going to pop up. It populates using the words that I want it to use. So since I'm at this awesome conference, I can say, oops, Mountain Moot. And, oh, those are unhappy ones, aren't they? I don't like those, so I'm going to do it one more time and see if I can get something better popping up here. There we go. So if I like this guy, I can just pull her over here, and you can see that now I have a customized Bitmoji for whatever I'm doing. So the secret for all these people using customized like Mountain Moot Bitmojis is using this extension right here. Okay. And then I want to show you one more quick add-on, and this is an add-on for Slides. It's called Creator Studio. And what I have done is this has allowed me to make a customized banner for Google Classroom. And all I did was I created a slides presentation. It's about 9 slides long. I grabbed our Bitmojis and popped it in there. And then each little action you see, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as they twist in that cartwheel, are different slides that I just manipulated a little bit. And then when I was done, I went to my add-on and I ran my Creator Studio, and it created a GIF. I think GIF is appropriate, or GIF, for me. And I was able to create a customized banner for my Google Classroom. Okay, I just talked to you for 50 minutes. So here's what I want to do. I want to give you some time to try out Google Slides and create something. So you get to level yourself. You create what you want, but definitely get some hands-on time here. If you're a beginner, maybe design just like an introduction slide, like something about you. Hey, this is a little bit about Ms. Krumhauer, the tech integration specialist and librarian at Billings Senior High. If you're advanced and you want to try something fun, start designing a custom banner. The ratio for a Google Classroom banner or a Google or a Google Form banner is a 4:1 ratio. So I think I did 1600 pixels by 400 pixels in order to make this banner. So when I went to my page settings, I just changed it to pixels and did 1600 by 400, and that gave me the correct dimensions to create a GIF. Okay.
Stuff. I don't think I have anything else. That
Have you listened to me talk for enough for a minute? Hopefully.
I have a little.
I am going to figure out how to get back here
No,
to this guy. Are there any questions that I need to address while you guys are working?
Yeah.
Things are going okay?
I mean, I only make 70 cents a piece on them, but.
Okay, so definitely go into slides and create a slide. And then what I've put in our course classroom is a place for you to share your creations. And there's definitely going to be some moot coin coming for these things. So it doesn't matter what you create. It doesn't matter how advanced you are. The only way you're going to get better is by trying something. So this is my, I'm going to give you like 15 minutes to stretch, to get coffee, and to create a little bit. And then definitely share with us here in the creations page. I'm going to mute myself, but I'm here if you have any questions.
Shondell, I thank you so much for that first part. I just wanted to mention that Diana did mention in chat that if you do have an image and it has a background and you can't, or if you find an image and it has a background, you can't find one that doesn't have a background, you can use, there's a website called remove.bg.
Yes.
And that will, you just upload your image,
Yep.
It'll get rid of the background, and then you just download the resulting file and you're good to go. So
yes, thank you so much,
that
Diana.
does it very intelligently too, yeah.
Yeah, that is a great website. I will be perfectly honest with you guys. I'm usually too lazy to even do a two-step process, but I have used it. It is great. It's super. Definitely bookmark that or add it to your, you know, your toolbox.
And also, Zandra asked, how do we share our slides after we're done?
Okay, so great question. So when you're done, you can do a number of things. If you want to just take a screenshot, you can take a screenshot. If you want to go to your share button and just go to where, oh, sorry, this is a different, I'm going to pop over to a different account really quick because it's in my personal account. I'll just go to this guy. If you want to go to share here, you can click down here and change it so that anyone with the link on the internet can view, and then just copy that link and share a URL. Or the final thing you can do is you can go file and then download it as a PDF, a JPEG, or a PNG, and any of those will work to upload in our Moodle course.
And also, after you do get that link in the Moodle course, there's a, say 1, 2, 3, about 3 items down. There's share your slides creations. You just click on that link and you'll be able to list it as a forum post, basically. So.
Yep. So you can use a forum post, or you can just add to the topic I created. I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you guys to not have to create a bunch of stuff in order to share. And I think I did okay. I think. Remember, I'm new to Moodle, so I've used it as a student, but never as a facilitator. So it's definitely a learning curve for me.
So 15 minutes then, I think?
Yep, let's do
great.
15 minutes. So that would be about 2:10 Mountain Time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
hello. This is.
Because now I'm not on the like.
They honestly think that this Moodle crap is easier.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Hang on. There we go. I I had to hop on to another computer in this meeting because I couldn't keep up with the chat and at least like scroll through very well. I am completely learning so much already. I was trying to go through all of your replies and respond to everyone. I'm going to do my best to respond to you guys because I think if you're putting in the work, then I definitely want you to know that like it's seen, it's appreciated. But if I miss it, I am so sorry. It's not intentional. I thought I was keeping up well, and then I figured out I could just keep arrowing through and it never stopped. There's so many. So I love what you're creating. I love getting ideas from you guys. Keep them coming. And here's the thing. I know that I did a complete fire hose for like 45 minutes. So if you're thinking like, okay, enough, this is new to me, and I just want to get comfortable with one new thing, continue to play with slides. Keep this meeting on in the background, ask any questions if you have them, that is fine. Remember, this is for you. You're learning what you want to get out of it. I have, and I could, again, do a 3-hour course on just slides and still not cover everything that I love. So I totally get it if you're done. Remember, this is recorded. You can always go back to it, and you will have my contact info if you want to ask me any questions. I'm really pretty good at emailing back if you guys have questions or anything. So definitely tailor this to what you want to get out of it. If you're like, hey, I got slides, I'm pro and I'm ready to move on, then I'm going to just keep going. And I definitely am not going to talk for 45 minutes this time. I will pause before then, and you guys will have some more time to play a little bit so you can get some hands-on time, get up and stretch, and get some coffee and all that. Maybe it's time, it's afternoon, maybe it's time for tea, right, in the afternoon or something else. Okay, so I see a lot of you guys shared your slides in many different ways. There were links, there were downloads, there were screenshots. I love them all. You guys did great with that. I do want to take a minute to, oh, I already talked about that one. So I want to take a minute to talk about some of the options for sharing your Google Docs, your slides, your sheets, etc. So you can get a little crazy with your sharing options. Most of you realized if you go here, you can grab this link, copy the link, and what that's going to do is it's going to just share this link that I have. Anyone in the world who has this link can access it. But you can do a little Google magic on here as well. So this is what my link looks like as is. I'm just going to pop over here and open an incognito window, and I will tell you why after I show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to paste that URL in, and if I grab anything with edit and after, and I type in view, what that does is it gives you a view only copy. So this is probably the copy that you see right here. You can't edit it at all. You can see everything, but you can't edit it. So if you wanted to edit this, all you would do is go file and then make a copy, and you can grab your own to edit. If I paste in that URL and delete everything from edit and after and go preview, what that's going to do is it's going to take that menu off, and it's just a really clean, crisp looking presentation of my slides. You can navigate through that down here with this arrow or just with your arrows on your keyboard as well. And you are seeing, just like I said, that clean copy. And all these titles are the titles, the title from each slide. Okay, so what we'll cover for the day, you can see that that's the title right there. The last thing I'm going to show you is one of my favorites. If I'm working with students or I'm posting something on my website, but I'm not using Google Classroom, if I say copy here, what that's going to do is it's going to force the user to make a copy. So that way they're going to open up their own. They're not editing anyone else's. The downside is any edits that I make will not show up on their copy. But this is how I've linked things on my website before that I share with the world. And I want to make sure that I'm not sharing my editable version with them. Or maybe I do a presentation in, summer of 2020, and then next year I recycle the presentation and just update it. I'm going to make a new copy just so that I have all those updates in a new file. I had a thought and I lost it now. This is super handy. If you use, I know what I was going to say. If you use Slides Carnival, this is what it's going to do. You find a template you want to use. And when you grab this and you say that you want to use this guy, use as a Google slide, it's going to force you to make a copy of it once you hit use this template. Okay, so once you hit that, it will create your own copy. And the great thing about that, sorry, my internet is really slow here, so I'm going to close out because I don't want to like clog up what I'm really trying to do. But the great thing about it, when you force someone to make a copy, is that copy goes and lives in their drive. So anytime that they go to their drive, they can see it and they can find it. If you use Google Classroom, the view and the copy are built directly into how you assign the assignment. If you say assign a copy to each student, you're basically doing this make a copy. If you say students can only view it, you are saying just view, okay? So all you're gonna do again is you're just gonna highlight everything after edit, and then you're going to change it to view, copy. Oh, I don't wanna do that anymore. Okay, view, copy, preview, and things like that. Okay, one more trick I want to show you is this is a really ugly looking link here, right? It looks really messy. If I copy this link, instead of pasting it ugly like that, what I could do is I could highlight a word that I want to link, and then on a MacBook, I'll push Command K. On a PC, it's Control K. And then I can just paste that link in here, and that's how you get the links that look pretty, and they're not the super like bulky looking link there. Okay. All right. Incognito window. Oh, I said I would tell you about this. Here's why I love an incognito window. I use a Mac, and with a Mac, I can have different personalities logged into Google Chrome, and they don't cross wires. So I won't be in like my personal account and then accidentally be in my school drive. But like on a Chromebook, I can't do that. So what I do is I just open an incognito window, and you can see the little guy here is hidden. He's like your inspector, your private detective. So he doesn't share what you're doing. So if you're going to search for airline tickets, your incognito window doesn't track your cookies the same way that your regular window does. So it doesn't know that you're searching for tickets to go to Orlando and you're looking for the best price. The other reason I really like this is it's where I test my links. So I showed you when I pasted that link in. Once I paste it in, I'm not logged into my Google account here. So this is just me testing to make sure I shared everything okay, that I have the correct permissions. That when I share this link out, I'm going to see the exact same thing you as my participants are seeing. The third thing is I travel from classroom to classroom a lot, and I don't want to log into other teachers' computers, not because I'm hiding anything, but because, again, I don't want to get my wires crossed. So I will, if I'm presenting on their computer, I just open an incognito window, and that way, once I close this guy, it doesn't remember anything. There's nothing that will be tracked. If I open that incognito window again, I can't bring up that history or anything like that. Okay, so incognito windows are very helpful, especially if you're sharing computers with other people. That's the most like helpful thing that I can do on those. On my school Chromebook that I'm using, we can only have one login. That's why I have to use that incognito window for a second login. You guys, I'm going to skip Pear Deck for the in essence of time. Pear Deck is awesome at creating interactive slides and creating presentations that as you're going through, your students have a device and they're interacting with. If you want to know more, shoot me an email, put something in the chat, draw my attention to it, and I will definitely get a hold of you and we can talk about Pear Deck. That could honestly be its own 3-hour session as well. And since we are almost halfway through our time, I know that I'm just not going to get there. So let's go into Google Forms. I always say things like Google Slides is my absolute favorite tool ever. And now I'm going to say the same thing about Google Forms. I love Google Forms. Google Forms is a fantastic and easy to use survey tool, but it's so much more. I've used Google Forms as a teacher for quizzes, for exit tickets, for just real quick checks for understanding in the middle of a lesson, to get data, to get to know my students, all of those things. I've used it for feedback at sessions. I've used it for registrations. I usually run a conference each summer, and we just use Google Forms as our registration tool for both presenters and for our participants. I coached cheerleading and I used forms in almost everything I did. I would send out a form to get the kids' sizes and parent contact information, all of those things. And then I would just have that lumped in one easy place. Yes, Whitney, sorry, answering your question. When you're in the incognito window, sorry, I just was distracted by this. Yes, in order for me to get into my account, I would have to go to google.com and then I would sign in just regularly. But the minute I close this guy out, I'm signed out. I don't have to worry about signing out from every place that I am. I'm just automatically signed out. And then Michelle, in Moodle, the link that I gave you guys to my presentation, it is this Google presentation, and that's how I linked it in there for you. I just added it as a link, I believe. So sorry, I got distracted by all of a sudden at the bottom of my computer, it showed up that I had a new chat. So back to Google Forms. Google Forms is my favorite. Again, I'll say that a lot. It is such an easy tool for collecting information and data. So I am teaching a couple of online courses this summer, and this is just a Google form I created. Some of the things that I did were I put in different questions that are short answer questions. I did some checkbox questions. I did a multiple choice question, long answer, and then I did a grid question. And I'm just going to duplicate this tab so that I can show you why I love like multiple choice and grid questions. So when I go to get my responses here, I'm just going to click on this responses tab, and you can see that I can go through and see each individual, or I like to just leave it on the summary. And these first few questions are name and email. They're not going to be duplicated for the most part. But remember this checkbox question I had up here? Which Google Classroom features intrigue you the most? Well, when I click on this guy, these are how people answered. And I love it because I can quickly see that what people were most interested in was organizing student work and creating content and curating materials, okay? Reading student posts and changing the theme, not so much were my people interested in that. So I didn't spend a lot of time on that. Okay, my next question was this one, multiple choice. And I had a yes, a no, or an other button. So the thing that's great about multiple choice is it just creates this super easy pie chart for me. So for every dance we do royalty, and I help the coaches or sponsors create a form for nominations. And then we create a form for voting. So we use 2 different forms. The voting form has 5 boy names and 5 girl names. And I used to have to count slips of paper from up to 2,000 students because that's how many kids we have. So I might have had to like cut 2,000 pieces of paper in half, and then we would physically count. Making a form and going digital, I can click only on the responses tab at 3:01 when our form ends, and I can see who wins the royalty super easy. Okay, so these pie charts, when you use a multiple choice question, are fantastic. For me, that's a great like quick check, right? If I am completing a lesson or pausing halfway through a lecture or something, and I want to just do a really quick check at where my students are, I could throw out a really fast multiple choice question and within seconds have a pie chart that tells me, do my students understand? Do I need to go back or anything like that? Okay. This next one was a long answer. So these are all just the responses that people typed in. I have 31 responses that I can just scroll through. This next one, this was that grid question that I asked. And so you can see that I'm asking them to rate how efficient they feel with each of these tools. And then these are the options for how efficient they feel. When I look at my responses, it comes in a nice bar graph. So I can see that people are like, I don't know really how I could use Gmail. I use it, but I don't feel great. Or most people feel like they use it or they could teach it. On docs, most people are like, hey, I feel pretty good about it. Like I use it, I know what it is. So as I scroll through these, I can just see like, this told me that I should definitely address drawing in the course that I taught because people were like, I just haven't used it. I'm unaware of it. I don't know much about it. So this quick little grid that they filled out gave me all of this data as I went into teaching a course. And then the last question was just another like fill in the blank question so they could tell me their own. So for me, in this form, I gathered a ton of data. I knew about my students before our class actually started, and it helped me drive my lesson plans as far as what I was going to be teaching during this 6-week course that I taught, just by looking at this kind of data. Sometimes, like when I was coaching, I would use a form for a Jimmy John's order, and I would ask it in the beginning of the season, and my kids would type in their favorite Jimmy John's order. And then whenever I had to call Jimmy John's, it was right there, and I could just read those answers right off. So sometimes I'm not collecting important data. Sometimes I'm just making my life easier. We used it to vote on, the hoodie that we'd order for the year, or the practice tee design that we'd use. So you can use forms for anything that you want to give people a choice for. Forms is a super easy tool to use for that. So a few things, I guess maybe a few more reasons to love forms is when you are creating an assessment for your students, as educators, that assessment is giving us the data. Yes, it's telling us like what our students' grade is on a topic, but more importantly, I feel like it's giving you data on what your students know. What do you need to reteach? What went really well? And so what you can do within Google Forms is something called branching, and that allows for differentiation. This takes some planning, but it is super worth it if you really want to create some differentiation for your students. I linked you to a Casey Bell article here. She's one of my favorite kind of like edu-famous people. And she will take you through like how to branch. Basically what you do when you are branching in an assessment is you are taking these questions, like this multiple choice question, and what you can do is you can create a section based on that answer. So let's say my first question is, have you used Schoology, Edmodo, or another LMS before? And the answer is yes. And so I don't have anything to follow up. I could create a section that just takes us to this next question. How do you currently collect Google assignments? Maybe if it's no, I want to take them to a different section and ask, Do you know what an LMS is? Are you familiar with this? Or maybe I just want to take them, if they say no, maybe I want to take them to a website that talks about what an LMS is so they can study up and understand what that means before they come into my course. If I'm in the classroom, let's say I'm asking a question about, let's say I'm asking the kids an algebraic question, or a question where they have to, solve for multiplication and then add because they're using the order of operations. And so I have the math problem. I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. 2 times 6 plus 7. So what I would do is I would multiply 2 times 6 and get 12, and then add 7, and my answer would be 19. So I have one answer that's 19, but then I also have one that's 26, because I understand that some of my kids might say 6 plus 7, and then they take that times 2. So one of my answers right here would be 19. That's the correct answer. If they choose that, I'm going to take them to the next section because they got it right. If they get it wrong, maybe I take them to a slide that I've created, or a quick video that I've made that says, hey, don't forget, in the order of operations, you do multiplication before addition. So now go back and re-answer that. So they have to go to my site, watch my video, read my slide, whatever, and then they have to come back into the quiz and retake it until they get it right. So if they answer the wrong answer again, it's going to take them back and say, hey, let's go over this order of operations. That is what branching is, and that is when you're using sections. So what I found is that it's really handy to outline what my assessment will look like, and to only do this with a short assessment. I'm not going to do a 40-question quiz using branching. This is going to be like 2 or 3 questions so I can really see where my students are struggling. Why this is so helpful is because not only are they getting the immediate feedback as far as I answered this incorrectly, now I know, now I can fix it. It also doesn't let them go on until they get that correct. So this is really handy during our distance learning, when we all know we have kids completing assignments online at 11:30. We're not always up at 11:30 and there to give them that feedback right away. So branching allows that, for that instantaneous, right away feedback. It's right or it's wrong. Let me see here. Another tool. Oh, this is another branching idea that I found, and this is really cool. I don't know how long it would have taken someone to make. This is a choose your own adventure story using forms, and this person used branching, go to section based on an answer, based on the answers in a form. So as you go through this form and you answer it, you're going to go to the next slide, and these answers depend on what you said for the first one. Okay, so all of your options are just that choose your own adventure story. It's really fun. I've linked all these in my presentation so you can go back and look at them if you want to. Another cool tool I've used, or I've seen used, is Matt Miller. He is the Ditch That Textbook guy. He created a Google form for lesson planning. And when I first heard this, I was like, okay, I don't know why I do that. But the more work we've done with the PLC here in my district, the more I think that this would be really helpful for helping to generate those common lesson plans. If you're working with other teachers on the same content area, then you could each generate a lesson, share them, and then they're all following that exact same format so that anyone would be able to use it, which is really, really handy. I did come up with a few tips for you. Please, please, please name your form. What I see a lot of times is people don't put a name here in the very first question, so they don't get a name up here. And then when they share them, all that the recipient is seeing is Shondell shared untitled form with you, and that's not very helpful. So always name your form. Customize it. Customizing is super fun. If you click on the paint palette, you can choose themes that already exist in Google, or remember, you can take that slide change the dimensions of it to a 4:1 dimension, and you can create your own banner that you could use right here that's customizable with your Bitmoji, maybe drawings of your students that they've created or something fun like that. So name it, customize it, get fancy with it. Getting fancy with it is with each question. So on this question, let me close this guy out. On this, I asked for your Gmail account for on this form. I went down here and I added a description. And so I just made sure that my students understood this is the email that you'll be using for this course. The next one is a multiple choice question. So I wanted people to know you can select as many as you need. You don't just have to select one in this one, okay? So those are the descriptions that just kind of make things a little bit fancier, a little bit more, you just add a little detail to it. This is also creating those sections, response validation. What's really cool is in a question like this for Gmail, I can go here to my response validation and I can say that this text answer has to contain an email address. So if somebody types in for their answer skrumhauer@gmail.c, it's going to know that that's not a full email address, stop you, and then make sure that you've typed your email address incorrectly on this. This is super handy too if you have a if you're giving a math quiz and you want to make sure that it has a number. Even if you were looking for a phone number, you could say that it has to be a phone number in here. You could say that the number has to be greater than 20 for a math problem so that they know. Maybe you're kind of giving your students a little bit of a clue on that. You can validate text the length. So maybe you give your kids a maximum character count or a minimum character count. You're tired of getting one-word answers, so you say, hey, in order to answer this, you have to have at least 250 characters. That's letters and spaces. So you have to write a couple sentences for me here. Okay, so all of those are ideas for response validation. You can include videos in your form. I'm just going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to go right here, and I'm just going to add a question. So one thing I could do is say, like, which dog is cutest? And then here I could say number one, and I could grab a picture. Again, I could upload a picture from my computer. I could grab it by a URL. I could grab something from my drive. I could do a Google image search for golden retrievers because, of course, that's my favorite. So we'll take this guy. Or I could add another picture, and this will be number 2. And this is going to be for you, Jordan Wagner. And this is going to be a mini Aussie. Okay, so this guy. So then in my form, when my students see this, they're going to have, hang on. I turned this off because my class was over. They are going to see in here a couple of dogs that they can choose from with pictures. Okay, one more thing you can do is in your form, you can also add a video. So I'm going to add a question, and then in this question, I'm going to add a video. And because I think it's still safe, I'm going to do a search for Hamilton lyrics. I could add this video and then say Hamilton. And then I could add a little caption. Watch this video before answering the next question. So maybe this is a video on clouds, and they can watch my video. I'm just rearranging. The way that I rearrange is I pull these 3 dots, and then down here, I can ask them a question about clouds. So notice that Google is sometimes intuitive. A cumulus, I don't know how to spell that. So once I started typing name instead of which or what, you'll notice that Google switched to a short answer question here. If I type which is a cumulus cloud, it assumes that I'm going to put in some different options for multiple choice. So Google does try to be a little bit, of a, it tries to help you a little bit with that intuition, like, hey, you're probably going to want a multiple choice question here. You're probably going to want a short answer question here. And then I already talked about using those responses. So let's skip down to.
Hey, Shondell,
Yeah.
before we move on to the next topic, we've got a few questions
Talk to me.
about forms.
Yes.
Specifically, Karen wants to know if there's a way to import a test bank from a publisher into a Google form.
Unfortunately, not that I've seen so far, which is a big bummer because I know a lot of people use like Exam View or Test Generator, things like that. If it is in a sheet, if you have a spreadsheet, there is a add-on to import that. And so if you need to know that, I can look that up. But no, there's not an easy way to just be like, hey, import this question from whatever exam software I used. And then I see, Whitney, I see your comment too. Branching, yes, you can make a Google form a quiz. You are exactly right. The thing that branching does is it forces kids to go to a different section. So if you make a form a quiz, it's awesome because you can give a quick 5-question quiz and then have the kids get their answers right away so they get that immediate feedback. But it doesn't take them to the resources to get it correct. Branching just takes that to one more level and says, like, you did not do like your order of operations correctly. So look at this. Remember, you multiply before you add. Now go try it again. But you are exactly right that if you grade a quiz, you can have that instantaneous feedback. Okay, Karen, I will look at that. What I wanted to do is I am going to, I want to give you guys some time to create a quick form. And I'm thinking like a quick form, like 3 to 5 questions. If forms are new to you, just experiment with the different types. Just add a multiple choice, add a checkbox, add one that requires a number. If you're advanced, throw in some videos, maybe try to start branching, add some sections, use that response validation, things like that. And let's take like maybe 10 to 15 minutes, maybe like 2:55 Mountain Time. What I would really like for you to be able to do is take the form you create and then also, sorry, navigating here is hard for me, remember. In this Moodle course page, I made a place for you to share your form, just a URL. To do that, super easy. I'm in my form. I'm gonna go to send, and I'm going to go to my hyperlink button here, my link, and then I'm gonna grab this shortened URL. What this will do is allow other people to go in there and answer your questions. So what I really am trying to do is get you some data that we can then export to a spreadsheet. So when we get to sheets, you have something to play with a little bit. So if you send your form, grab this shortened URL and pop it over here, we will get you, I'll try to reply, and then when you finish your form, just try to reply to a few others so they get a little bit of data in their form that we can use for the next step. Does that sound good? Karen, I will look for that while you guys are working on your form. Okay, I'm gonna mute, but I'm still here if you need anything, okay? Okay, it's okay. It doesn't really matter where you're at in your form. If you want to share it and then take a couple minutes to answer some of the other people's forms, that would be awesome. I'm just going through, oh geez, to try to answer a few of these for people so that they have some data when we get to our sheets. Okay, so I see just a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to, and they are no big deal at all. There are things I see all the time, but I just wanted to make sure I addressed. So Melanie shared a form, and I would guess that she probably created this in her school's domain. So when we paste this in to open it, we are going to get a message that says we need permission, and that's fine. What happens is a lot of our domains will default. So when we share them out, only people in our same domain can answer. The way around that is under your settings here. And maybe, hold on, I might have lied to you. Poop, poop, poop. Ours does not, ours doesn't lock us down anymore. So that might be another thing I have to double check on, is sharing outside of your domain. And that may be something that you'd have to talk to your tech director about, or one of your techs about, just because your Google admin can lock that down. So what happened with this one is nothing that, I don't know that she can control it. And like I said, when you guys are working in Sheets, I'll try to go back and see if I can find the answer. But she's locked, we're locked out of hers because of the domain. Again, no fault of hers at all. The other thing I saw in here was, Whitney, it's totally fine if you have a long URL. The way that I grabbed that shortened URL is when I went to send it and I clicked on my link, I just clicked shorten URL right here. And it just makes it a little bit smaller. if you are working in Google Classroom and you're going to send it out that way, you don't have to worry. The other way you can send things out is through an email. So I could send this to like my entire staff, and that would just shoot them the link right away. I wouldn't have to worry about the URL at all. The only time we have to worry about a URL is when we're in a group like this, where we're from all over the place and we're not in the same domains. Okay. Okay, so, ooh, Melanie, if you changed it, you're gonna have to show me how. Okay, will you tell me how you did that?
Do you want me to talk to you about it or
Yeah,
type it
that's
up?
totally
Or?
fine.
Okay, let me go back and see if I can remember. This
I
is how
get
I
it.
do life. I just kind
Yeah.
of guess away. So I just went up under, I went to my form, I went up under my settings bar, the little gear. And what it said is under requires sign-in, it was checked on restrict to users in Montana City School and its trusted organization. So I just unclicked that and
Yes.
saved it.
You are exactly right. The reason I don't have it is because I created this in my personal Gmail, so I don't get to restrict it. But yes, if you are in your own domain, one of the options here is let people outside of your domain answer. Thank you so much. See, I need it in front of me too. If it's not there, I don't remember. Okay. Oh, okay. I can't remember who asked the question, but somebody asked about importing questions from another like software into a Google form. I found the
Yeah,
answer.
that was Karen. Karen
Okay.
asked that.
Awesome. Okay, Karen. So I knew there was a add-on, and it's actually in Docs. It's not in Sheets. So it's called Doc to Form. And what it does is when you click on it, anything you have in a document, you can use to create a form. So if this was the text I wanted for the question, I would use the selected text for question number 1. Then I would decide what kind of answer I wanted, and then I can add my options, yes or no. And then I can add a question. So it looks a little bit clunky, but it walks you through super easily. And it's basically just kind of a copy and paste situation. So I'm gonna grab just one more, and then I will export it and show you what that looks like. Use my selected text, and I'll leave this as a text question. And then when I go in to create my form, Doc to Form is going to use its magic, and it creates a form that is housed in my Google Drive. When I view my form, here it is. So I can still add to it, I can still edit it, but it allows me to easily take some of that old data from a different generator and pop it in. So if you have something that is in a different kind of document, you would have to upload it. And what you could do in your drive is upload a file. I don't know what kind of files I have. I had to get new memory in my computer, so I don't think I have very much, except for pictures from hiking. I'm going to try a PDF, and we'll just see what happens together. So here's a PDF I would open with Google Docs, and it's going to be ugly. It's not going to import perfectly by any stretch, but I still will have all that information that I needed. And so then, even though that's a PDF, I can still use that Doc to Forms add-on and then grab that information and put it in there. Yes?
Yeah, so thank you. The add-on is something, oh, I see up there. It's on the add-ons. Okay.
So
And it's
the
called
way,
Doc to Forms.
Yeah, the way I'd grab that is I'd go to get add-ons, and then when it's going to open up only those add-ons that are available for Google Docs, and this is where I would type in doc to form. Whoops, or form. And then once you find one you want to use, it's this guy right here. I already have it installed, but usually it would say right here, do you want to install it? Now, your district may restrict you on what you can use to install it, because what add-ons do is they are going to read things in your drive. And by that, I'm kind of a Pollyanna, and I definitely, I look at things like how many people have used a tool, what the ratings are. This one has almost 6 million users. So to me, that's something that people are finding helpful. If there were 7 users, I may not use it yet. But what's going to happen when you go to use an add-on is it's going to say, do you give it permission? And then it's going to give you a checklist of things you're giving permission. And one of the things it's going to say is to write files, read and write files in your drive. Here's why. It is the script that the person wrote for that add-on is taking the information from one doc that it has to read, and then it is cranking it out into a Google form, which is a doc or a different file type that it's going to create in your drive. So you have to give it permission to do that. To me, it's kind of the same thing as if I'm using Twitter on my phone and I want to use a picture, it says, do you give Twitter access to your camera roll? And I say yes, because I want it to grab there. So definitely with add-ons, you want to make sure that you have the comfort level of using the add-on, just so that you know that you're trusting what you're sharing out there. But that's what that means when it says, can it read and write your files? Pear Deck will do the same thing. And that's because Pear Deck is reading your slides files, sharing it with your kids, and then pulling their information in for you. So again, you want to look at your developer, you want to look at who's using that, and you want to trust your gut. And I'm a Pollyanna, and knock on wood, I've not been burned yet. So I continue to use these cool add-ons that I see. Basically, I get them from other conferences. So I generally kind of trust that other educators are using them, and hope for the best. Another
you.
question. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Do you have another question?
No, I was saying thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Another question that I found is, I think Michelle was asking about using my presentation in Moodle with accessibility. And I am so sorry. I don't know the answer to what you're saying, because I'm just not familiar enough with Moodle to know what you're asking. But if you want to, I will grab that question, and I can also shoot that to Ryan, or I don't, maybe Alan knows. You might be a Moodle expert too, Alan, but
Yeah, I'm actually a Moodle developer. What was the question again? I'm sorry, I was answering an email.
oh, you're good, you're good. Okay, so Michelle said she had originally asked, can you take a Moodle or Google presentation into Moodle? And I said, yes, that's how I linked mine. And she said, I should have asked specifically about embedding a Google presentation and making sure it's accessible. I do see there's an accessibility add-on, Grackle Slides. And I'm like, I don't know the answer to those.
You actually can. I know at NC State we have Google Docs integrated with Moodle. There is a Google Docs or Google, I don't know if it's called the GSuite plugin or Google Docs and Sheets and whatever plugin for Moodle. And if you have that, if your Google administrator has it set up, then you should be able to import or embed a Google Doc into your Moodle course. And I think there are some other integrations beyond just embedding that you can do. I haven't used that particular plugin that much. I know we have it installed, but I haven't really dug into it myself. But you can, or you should be able to bring Google Docs into Moodle.
So would that be, I mean, would that be in here in this toolbox?
I don't know that it would be in there. I think it may be part of the, if you go into the like the regular text area editor, I think it may be part of
Oh,
the
okay.
auto editor. Check
Okay.
there. If not, check with your Moodle admin to see how
Okay.
they have it set up, or if they have it set up. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I just added the URL for mine. I'm sure you probably already knew that, Michelle. And that was the extent of my comfort level with adding that. And I was pretty excited that it worked. So I'm sorry I don't know that part very well. Okay, awesome. Any other questions? Oh, okay, great, Michelle. Yep. Okay, I think we're good. So now that we have 52 minutes left, I will cruise on into some sheets. Oh, sharing the form. I did show you sharing a form. The one thing I'll tell you is please do not ever share a form by grabbing this link up here. What that does is you're going to give someone else the ability to edit. And I can always tell when someone does it because instead of answering questions, people start typing like their name over this. So don't always share by hitting the send button in Google. Okay, if you want to embed it, you can embed it into a website. You could probably embed it into Moodle. You can link it or you can send that email. If you want to share like with someone else to collaborate with you, add them here because that way you can control it. If you share this link, once people have it, you can never like take it back from them. They will just have that link. So if you want someone to write a activity with you, definitely use the add collaborators button in order to share it. And you can also add those collaborators here. Just with adding collaborators. There are also add-ons for forms. The one that I use most often with definitely A- success is one called Form Limiter. And the really cool thing about it is, let's say that we were going to have a potluck and we were going to make taco salads. We would need chips and we would need cheese and lettuce and sour cream and tomatoes and all of those items. If I made a checkbox with those items and I ran my add-on called, oops, sorry, it wasn't Form Limiter. I'm sorry, it's Choice Eliminator. If I run my Choice Eliminator add-on, I tell it which question I want it to eliminate from. And then once someone signs up to bring cheese, it automatically goes away. And then once someone signs up to bring sour cream, it automatically goes away. That way you don't end up at your potluck with 17 bags of Doritos and 1 bag of shredded cheese. Not that there's anything wrong with Doritos and shredded cheese, but we definitely need some other items for our taco salads. Okay, with Form Choice Eliminator, every multiple choice item has to be different. So you can't put 3 options of chips because once someone takes one, it's going to take all 3 away. So you have to say a bag of chips, another bag of chips, a third bag of chips. And then when people sign up, it will just take those away. Again, if you want more info on that, please just let me know. Okay, so going into Google Sheets, because I'm a nerdy nerd, Google Sheets to me is magic. And the more I use it, the more magical this tool becomes because of my nerdy nerd tendency to love data and formulas and analyzing things. And also because of my love for forms. So I told you that every time I run a conference, I use the sign up through Google Sheets. And that's because forms and sheets talk to each other perfectly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in this Google form that I sent or that I had my people respond to, remember I went through my responses just in this responses tab. Sometimes that's not enough. I need to see it better than just like this list of responses, for example. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I am going to have it create a sheet for me to look at that data. And I already did that because I was afraid that I wouldn't have great Wi-Fi. And when I created this sheet, again, I didn't do anything except for tell Google to create a sheet. This is what it generates. Okay, so right away when you look at this, you're like, Shondell, this is not helpful. This is not any easier to analyze than a big old list. But the things that you can do in sheets really make it much more manageable. So I don't know what this area right here is called. It is the box of the grid that comes behind A and above 1. But when I click on it, it highlights everything in my sheet. So I know the first thing that I want to do is I want to be able to see these crazy answers that I can't see the end of because it's cutting everything off. So right away, I can just go here, and this is my text wrapping options. And so I'm going to click on this wrap button, and that automatically is going to text wrap my sheet. So even though some people had a lot of data that they put in one answer, I can now read it all. If I don't do that, I can also read it if I click on it, and then I can read up here. But the older I get, the harder it is for me to read that tiny print. So I always just click up here, and then I wrap that form right away. Some of the other things that I can do, oh, see, I told you that my Wi-Fi is not great. Okay, let me just go back and back. Come on. Okay, one of the other things I can do, I'm hoping that this is going to, come on. One of the other things I can do, if it will let me, shoot. Okay, hang on, is I'm going to leave this ugly just because that's where I can go, but I can hide a column. So this is the timestamp. Because this was associated with a form, this just tells me when it was submitted. For this form, it doesn't matter. I don't care when it was submitted. So I don't have anything highlighted here. I'm just going over here to my A column. Notice when I click on the A, it highlights everything. If I click on this arrow, I can hide that column. The beauty is that that information doesn't disappear. It just doesn't clutter up my form. It's not hiding there. It's not taking up a column width. I can also hide my email addresses because I don't care about that right now. Now later on, I have an easy generated list here of email addresses that I can just copy and paste into an email and email everybody right away without having them register for anything. But right now I don't need that, so I'm just going to hide that column. Let's see if I can wrap it again. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now what I see is sometimes it's hard for me to see all the answers because I have to scroll, so I can't see all of Jill's answer right here because there's so much. So I can either easily, like, I'm just going to do one first. I can just resize this one cell and widen it out so it's easier for me to see. Or if I go to these questions, I know that questions G through P are the same one. They were that checkbox grid. So they're the same question, just with different tools. All I did was click on G. I scrolled over to where P is. I held the shift key and then I clicked on P and it selected all of those. So I can actually resize all of those at the same time. So now they're all the exact same width. And then I can see those answers a lot easier. Now, what I'm finding is that as I scroll, I'm losing my people. So I don't know who said I had introduced Google Docs before quarantine. I don't know who said this. So what I really like to do is I like to freeze my rows and columns. Notice when I scroll up, my top row is frozen. That's because this came from a Google form, Google knows that I probably want to know which question is up here. So I also want to freeze this column so I know my names. So I'm just going to click on that column And then the weird thing is this is under view. I don't know why it's weird to me, but under view, I'm going to tell it to freeze. And I can say no columns, 1 column, 2 columns, but I usually just like to say up to the current column since I hide things, then I don't have to do math. So now you notice as I scroll across, you can see exactly who said which answer. I scroll down, I can see my questions at the top, and then I can still see who is answering those questions. Okay, so right away, this might be an easier way for me to look at my data and see what I'm garnering from that spreadsheet. Also in here, I can sort. So let's say that I want to know the people who said yes to using Schoology or Edmodo and no. On here, all I'm going to do is go to this row, and when I hit my sort A to Z, it goes alphabetically. Okay, so I could do reverse alphabetically, so all my yeses are first, and then it carries everything with them. So I sorted by this row, or I'm sorry, this column, but everything in that row carried with it. And then I can see who my no's are, who haven't used an LMS before. And so then I know if I need to send them information, these are my people really quick that I would grab to send extra information on. I might also want to say, okay, let's see who is most proficient at using, I think I want, yeah, this one. What I could do is I could then sort this. So let's say I was looking for somebody who is proficient enough to like facilitate a session on forums. That was a horrible one to use because nobody said they're comfortable. I'll use Gmail. So there we go. When I sort it by Gmail, I know that Brooke, I know that Tammy, I know that Shay, I know that all these people feel really confident with Google or with Gmail. So if I was looking for someone to facilitate a session, maybe I would ask them to lead. Or maybe I was going to do breakout groups and I want someone who's super comfortable in every single group. I could grab those students and then disperse the rest of my kids with these people who feel really comfortable. So I do use the sorting a whole lot because it helps me, lump like items together, and then it also helps me make those groups. If I were to break these people into classrooms, I definitely would make sure I had 1 or 2 who felt super comfortable with Gmail, and then some that needed help so that they had each other since I can't be there all the time. And checkboxes. I love checkboxes because remember, I'm a nerdy nerd. So what I could do here is, let's say that I wanted to make sure that I was addressing each and every one of these and checking it off as we go through. Sometimes I just like to color code things when I get them done. So I'll just grab a quick color box and then highlight it like, yep, that's done. I can still see it. Another thing I can do super easily over here is I can go insert and then insert checkboxes and just drag them all the way down here. So I know that once I've completed like this task, I can just check it off. And then I know which ones I need to go back to, which ones I haven't addressed yet, or anything like that. So in a sheet, to me, that's a super handy tool just for really quick referencing. Then I could get extra fancy and I could create a filter. So I'm filtering out those that I have checked and I'm only seeing the ones I haven't checked. And those are filter views right here. So you could do that. And then I hid columns and rows. So Google Sheets are not just for like people who love data like I do. You could also use your Google Sheets for things like creating a digital portfolio, and just you could have each of these columns be labeled maybe a different assignment, like or maybe you're going by standards, and so each of these different columns is a different standard you need to cover, and then you could fill it in based on each student so that it's really easy to see. I've also done where we had 3 teachers sharing videos that their kids were creating, So I made a sheet that I shared with each teacher, and she shared with each student to edit. And then they just linked their videos in that one sheet, so that we then had a list of like 75 different student created videos, all linked just in one place that was easy to see and easy to organize. That way I could sort it by the student's name, or I could sort it by the teacher, so we could easily see who had turned in what. Rubrics. If you are using Google Classroom and you want to know more about the rubric feature, I found you can write a rubric using Google Classroom, and it's not that hard. But what I found was a sample online from this guy, and what he has done is created the template that you can use to write a rubric that then in Google Classroom you can just upload. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, it would be easier to write it here where I can see everything in one place than in my classroom where it's going to take me like down through those different options. So you could write it here and then upload it, super easy to see. And then the other sheet, like magic, that I definitely want to share with you is a website called Flippity. Flippity takes so much preparation and background work out of your life. Here's what Flippity has. Let's say you want to make a quiz show. You no longer have to go out to Google and say, hey, I need to find a template for a Jeopardy game and I want it to have this. Flippity has all of these different options. For every single one, it gives you a demo, like it shows you how it works. It gives you an instructions page. Here's how to use this, and it gives you a template. So when I click on this template, it's going to force that copy. I have to make a copy. This is now in my drive. Nobody else has access to it. And it's going to take a minute because my Wi-Fi kind of got slow here. This is a sheet that has every script, everything written so that I can turn this into a game show board. So I can change my categories, I can edit my questions, I can edit my answers. And then what every Flippity has is a get the link here. And it's going to tell you, hey, don't forget, it's always in red, don't forget to publish your spreadsheet. Here's what that means. You just go to File, and then you go down to Publish to the Web, and then you hit Publish. You don't have to know anything else. You don't have to like know what it's doing. What it's really doing is it's taking that sheet and running all the script in it, and then you can close out of there, and when you click on this guy, here is your game show. Doesn't that look cool? It looks so fancy. And really all you have to do is go in your demo and just edit this. So instead of world capitals, if you want it to say favorite dogs, that's done. It publishes automatically. I go to my Flippity and I do a quick refresh, and that's changed. So all you have to have is the content. Flippity does everything else for you. Let's say you want a random name picker. Grab a spreadsheet that has all your students' names in it, and then run this template, copy the names into a random name picker, and then you have something that gives you a random name picker. Here's the other really cool thing. I don't have a sheet. If I had a sheet I could use, I should have prepared this. At the top of this that you can't see is it will say groups of 5 or 5 groups. So let's say you have 23 kids in your class and you want groups of 5. You click on groups of 5 and it's going to randomly assign your students to groups of 5. Let's say those 23 students, you want 5 groups. No longer do you have to do the math and be like, okay, there's not 25, so I need 3 groups of 5 and 2 groups of 4. You can just click 5 groups and Flippity will randomly assign them to some groups that you can display on your projector and assign your kids a group that way. You don't like it, run it again. If you're like, whoa, Billy and Tommy cannot be together, or Susie and Sandy, run it again, and it will give you a new group for that. It's super handy if you want to do pairs, if you want to do any type of grouping or random name pickers, it's right there. The bingo is super fun. We use that for our library intro. We wrote questions and then the answers are different bingo answers. So instead of us just talking for an hour, we have them, we'll say like, okay, which hours are we open? And then it's the one that says 7 to 4. And if they have it, they click on that and then we kind of talk about it. So they're playing a game and actually listening to what we're doing. And every time I hop on here, I feel like Flippity has more and more and more options for you. I've not used them all. Everything I have used has been amazing. So definitely a site to bookmark or just remember. And you don't have to do the magic. Flippity does the magic for you. One thing I want to show you is if you are as addicted to forms as I am, one of the things that you can do, remember this guy right here, this is my responses from that form that I demoed for you before. One of the things I can do is under my form tab, I can, under my tools tab, I can set my notification rules. So anytime a user submits a form, I can get an email so that I don't have to keep going back to this sheet and check and see if anyone has submitted anything. Instead, it emails it to me and tells me, hey, somebody submitted your form. The reason I don't do any changes are made is because if I rearrange columns or I do what I did before and text wrap, I'm gonna get an email that says a user made a change and I don't need to know that. Question? No? Okay, so, and then if I want it right away, I can, or it can email me with a daily digest. So this is really handy to me when I use this for, oh, I have a form out there that has, if students want to request a book for the library, I don't want to go and check it. It just shoots me an email anytime someone requests a book. And then I can right away get that answer and I don't have to go and find it. I have one for if anyone has a question on like teaching virtually, they submit it to a form and I get an email right away. That way I don't have to try to go to that form all the time. And I've made a forum of like popular Q&As or FAQs with that. When I have presenters or people register for a conference, I have it send me a notification. I see that Susan signed up to present this, so I can get her information and take care of that right away. Then that's when I also have a checkbox that says, did I email her the information? Did I, do I have her bio and all of that? So it's a super easy way that I can just go to one place. So under tools is that notifications. And that just saves you the time of having to go out and figure out if anyone has answered. Instead it just says, hey, somebody answered your form. Okay, so let's do this. I don't have time for Autocrat. If you are a mail merger and you're like, hey, I love mail merge, you got to check out the add-on called Autocrat. And I can show you, I'll just show you super fast what it does. Oops, over here in my other email. So I have a form out because we are running some virtual trainings through an organization I'm involved in. And so my form gathers like the first name, the last name, the school district, pretty much all the information about the session that a presenter is going to share with everyone. In my form, I have them upload a Bitmoji or a picture so that I can link that in there. And then I am running a add-on called Autocrat. And it takes a little while to get familiar with, but it's really cool because what I have done is I set up a Autocrat template. This Autocrat template in a document. So this is what my document looks like. And these little arrows on the side correspond to these, wait, I got to figure out where that one is. These questions that I asked in my form. And so by creating this document that really is not fancy, it's just using all of my column labels, I am able to then generate all of these sheets without doing a thing. AutoCrat generates these sheets for me. So when Deanna submits her session on GSuite in the elementary classroom and she writes her information about her session and she figures out who her audience should be and she gives her little bio, all that AutoCrat does is generate these docs automatically for me. So I don't have to copy and paste anything in there. This takes a little bit of time to set up, but after you've done one or two, I promise it's easy. And then I have AutoCrat running whenever anybody submits to this form. And so, oh, that must be mine. So here are the documents that are created. So when Tracy submitted hers, it created this document right here. And then all I have to do is link those on our schedule so people know what's coming up. So it's just mail merge with a little kick. If you know mail merge, then using these are super easy. If you're new to Sheets, play around with Sheets a little bit, but then someday go back and try AutoCrat because it really does save you time. Let's say you wanted to generate certificates for your students after they complete different things. They could fill out a form and say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I completed my first presentation and I completed my first feedback form for somebody else's peer editing review or whatever. Every time they would submit something in that form, you could auto-generate a certificate. You can even have AutoCrat then email that person the certificate and you don't have to touch a thing. So if that's overwhelming, skip it. But if you want to check it out, definitely take a few minutes. I wish I knew how to do a quick poll in Moodle. I can use WooClap, I know this. I can create a quick WooClap that asks, oh gosh, I'm gonna try this, you guys. This is me going outside my comfort zone in public. My WooClap is going to be, where should we go? So I want you guys to pick, oh gosh, Ellen, how do I do this?
What are you trying to do?
I want to say, do you want time to play with Sheets or do you want to go on and you want me to fire hose you with a few more tools in the next 20 minutes?
You should just be able to put the WooClap link in there and make sure it's clickable, and then we all just click on it and go to it, and that's really the easiest way to do it.
How do I get a WooClap link? How do I make it?
Oh, you have to you have to go to WooClap and.
Oh, I have to go out to WooClap myself.
Or if there's already a WooClap event that exists, you should be able to just grab the URL for it.
See, the problem is I did this in my sandbox last week after the presentation on it.
Let's just enter it in chat.
Okay, love it. Do you guys want some time to play in slides? Or do you want to, I love it. Or do you want to, do you want me to fire hose you with like drawings and a few of those things? So you just let me know what you want. I would love to give you time, or I would love to keep going on if that's what is best for you. Fire hose, fire hose, fire. Okay, you guys want fire hose? I am good at that. Obviously I've demonstrated for 2.5 hours. I'm pretty good at that. Okay, so I'm gonna cruise through this and know that if we don't get to the end, you will have access to this presentation. And again, you have access to me if you wanna ask me any questions. Okay, so those are kind of the basics, and covering docs, slides, forms, and sheets in 2.5 hours is really fast, okay? But we're gonna go kind of, but wait, there's more. I want to show you two things. As you can see in both of my browsers, I tend to get a lot of tabs going. And really, I use tabs as kind of my to-do list. Other people will borrow my computer and it makes their head spin because they cannot handle it. It doesn't even bother me that I can't see full titles. But there are a couple things I use in order to make this more manageable. So notice like here, I know that this is the flippity icon. I know this is a sheet icon. I know what these tabs are. If I hover over it, it tells me the title of what that sheet is. But just by looking at it, I can't tell what's what. So what I usually do is I set my Google Chrome and I pin the things that I'm going to use all the time. So my email, my calendar, my drive, and then Twitter are things I use all the time. I pinned the Moodle site for Mountain Moot because I found myself having to keep going out and then trying to find an email from Ryan to get there, and that's silly. I also pinned my presentation for today so that it would be easy for me to get back to because I know how I get with my tabs. So in order to pin something, all you do is right click on the tab you want to pin and then you say pin it. Here's what that means. Notice that when I'm here, I can easily close out of something and then I'm like, oh no, I needed it. It's okay because I can revive that tab with Shift Command on a Mac or Shift Control on a PC, Shift Command T, and that revives the tab that I accidentally killed. Okay, so this only works when you're logged in. This does not work in an incognito window. But what pinning my tab does is I can't easily close this. It takes some effort, so I can't accidentally lock myself out of something. I can right-click here, unpin it, and then close it. And did you notice what it did to Jamboard when I unpinned it? It moved it from between slides and one tab out to like the regular area. Okay, so if I unpin my slides, I'll show it to you again. Unpin it. It moves it outside of those pinned tabs. So these are the tabs over here that I have pinned. They're not going to be easily closed. I still get a lot of tabs going. And so one of the extensions that I really love is called OneTab. It's this guy right here. What OneTab does is it takes my tabs here, my to-do list, the way that I run my show, and it condenses them down into one easy to access place. So if I click my OneTab extension, remember this is a Chrome extension, so it's in my browser, watch what it does. It's going to start taking all those tabs and it just puts them into a really, really, really easy to see list. Okay, here's why this is helpful for me. If I want to revive something, I just click on it. It's just a link back to where I was, but it's a lot easier for me to see what I had there. But if there's something that I'm done with, like I don't need to go back to this form, I'm done with that. I don't have to revive it. I can just hit the X next to it and it takes it away. So I don't have to keep going back to those. I could also hit restore all and it will pop back all of those tabs again. So even though my to-do list tabs are gone, I still have my to-do list here that's been really handy for me as I go through different items. But notice that OneTab did not take away those tabs that I pinned. Okay, so those will stay regardless. OneTab won't take them away. I learned the hard way on Monday when I was doing a presentation using Google Meet, and that opens in a tab in your browser, and I used OneTab and I kicked myself right on out of my own Meet. So if you're using Google Meet, two things. You can right click and pin it, or you can pull that tab out and not have it in the same window because OneTab won't grab the things that aren't in the same window. So if this was my Google Meet, it's not going to grab it. It's in its own window. OneTab only works within the window, okay? So that is a helpful thing that I learned on the fly the other day. So we pinned our tabs, we revived them, and then we talked about one tab, which is an awesome extension. Let's talk about Google Drawings. And question? Okay, so Google Drawings is a tool that I have known about for a long time, but I'm always like, why would I use it? I love slides. Well, I forced myself this summer to really work within Google Drawings to kind of expand my repertoire, and I kind of like it equally well, almost equally well. Google Drawings is really just basically a tool that allows you to create images, graphics, mind mapping, diagrams, charts, all kinds of things on a canvas. And here's the thing I love about a Google Drawing. If I go into my Drive, I'm just going to add new. This is going to be under my More, Google Drawings. When it opens up, it automatically opens up to something with a transparent background. Okay, so we talked about that transparent background. It doesn't bring the color with it. Really, really helpful when you're creating a graphic that you maybe want to put on a blue background or on a background that's a different color or something like that. Okay, otherwise the tools are super, super similar to using slides. You have your selection tool, you have your text box tool, you can add an image. Once you have an image, you can easily mask it. You'll get all those images, image options. So if I go back to my Bitmoji and add a picture in here, it does the exact same things I had before with these masking options. I can crop it however I'd like. The thing that really has sold me using drawing is that I can export this, I think, a lot easier. Remember in my presentation, I can export this as a PDF or a JPEG or a image or anything like that. But the thing that drawing allows me to do is it allows me to download this as that PNG with that transparent background. So then I don't have to go to another website and remove that background. Okay. With drawing, I think it's a really awesome tool for your students to use, but it's just limited enough so that they don't go super crazy. In here, you could add like word art. And it does tell you if you want to have multiple lines, you have to hit Shift Enter. And I forget that every time. So I can add my word art here. And again, it's pretty basic. So all I'm doing in my word art, it's not like Word or PowerPoint where when you have your word art, you have all sorts of like fun functions. In here, I just changed my font using the same tools that I would in a text box. But the thing is when I go to my format options, here's where I could add like a drop shadow that I could really, this is a horrible one. There we go. So you can see I can add a drop shadow to that. I could add a reflection. So it's basic, but I mean, you can do quite a bit as far as being able to do a little bit of fancy within a text box. But it's definitely not as robust as you would have seen in Microsoft tools for sure. Your colors, you would just edit up here, just like you would on a doc or a slide or anything like that. But some of the really cool things you can do using drawings come in the things that your students can create with it. So for example, Eric Kurtz is another guy I really like to follow. He's got Control Alt Achieve. My links didn't come over, so sorry, give me 1 second. I'm grabbing this from my other email. Sorry, I built it in the wrong email than the one that I'm using to present, and I was terrified I'd have a problem. So I invited myself, but I don't think all my links followed with it. Sorry, guys. all I've done here is linked some options, and Eric Kurtz has a great site with like 20 plus different options for mind mapping with your students. And really the power in mind mapping is that creating those diagrams and those charts replicate how your brain thinks. So it really helps your students digest that information a lot quicker, and really it helps them be able to use that information a lot faster too. So let's see if I can get it on here. Ah, shoot, I know why. Is it because I'm not in present mode? It shouldn't be. We might skip links and I'll just make sure they're in there. There we go. So this is a different one that I found. This is a hands-on activity that students could do. And again, this is pretty basic, but this is just using that same idea of like a slide or a drawing where the students can manipulate different pieces. So after you've talked about the seasons, you would have all of these kind of starting on the side, and then you'd have them decide like, where do you see snow? Well, you usually see snow in the winter, and you'd see rain in the spring. So it's just a hands-on interactive activity that your students could use. You could do this with something as easy as like having kids sort numbers, like, oh gosh, whole numbers, are those the ones that can't be divided by anything? I'm really bad at number things now. Prime numbers. You could have them sort prime numbers and non-prime numbers into different things. You could have them sort numbers that could be, you know, super easily square rooted, or you could find the square root of super easily, and then numbers that don't have a clean whole number prime. Don't judge me on my math, okay? And those kind of things. Oops, sorry. This is also a way that I use drawing this summer in one of my classes. I've always loved choice boards, but Google Drawings just let me get really fancy with it. And the thing about Google Drawings is you can also hyperlink anything in there, so Google Drawings can become a hyperdoc. So for a class this summer, we just created a tic-tac-toe board, and to demonstrate skills, we had each student choose 3 of these, and it has to make a tic-tac-toe. Couple caveats: they had to use the one in the middle, so they had to use Flipgrid with us, and then they got to choose anything they wanted to do. And basically what we were trying to do is let students explore the tool and spend some quality time using the tool that they really wanted to get better at. So that's how we came up with our choice board solutions. And then the one thing we did is made sure that you couldn't get a tic-tac-toe using 2 things that were exactly the same or really, really similar. So you couldn't get a tic-tac-toe by recording a screencast, recording a Flipgrid, and recording a meet. We wanted them to kind of go outside. Just like you couldn't get a tic-tac-toe with the slides and a drawings. You had to use one or the other and then try something else. So super fun way for students to choose how they were going to demonstrate their learning for us, and then they shared their creations with us in Google Classroom, and it was really nice just to be able to see as a teacher a ton of different types of creations, and it gave those students a chance to really find what they're good at and share what they've learned in their own way. So I absolutely think there's a place for quizzes and tests. Like, I don't think you can avoid it in education, but this really let the kids show us what they knew instead of us just saying, hey, this was the important part. Did you get it? Or did you get really good at something else? So I do really, really, really love choice boards. I think it allows you to give them that freedom. And what I usually would do is create a rubric that everything could apply to. So it's not so much like, did you use 5 different fonts and colors? Instead, it's, did you address 5 different concepts? What are they? Those kind of things. So drawings, really, really, really love drawings. See, I was gonna have you spend some time on drawings. Jamboard, we already talked about Jamboard. That was the first thing we did in this class. So I'm gonna cruise right through it. I did put some ideas in here. I've skipped a lot of slides in my presentation where I've tried to share ideas. So again, it is yours, go back to it, use it, make a copy of it if you want to. Let's see, oh, Google Keep. I'm going to do a huge disservice to Google Keep in 5 minutes. Google Keep is awesome, okay? Here is what Google Keep is. It's an online note program that you can use by yourself or you can collaborate on. It's sticky notes for your computer. And the best thing about it is my desk is covered with sticky notes, and they get stuck together, they stick to my sweater, they fall on the ground, and I lose them, and I don't remember things if it's not written down. I use Keep on my computer and on my phone, and the notes interact with each other instantaneously. I can use different labels for my notes, so I can sort them into the things I use for professional development. Some of my Bitmojis that I like to pull into documents. I can have things that I do for the organization I'm a part of. If I have personal items like a shopping list or anything like that, just like with my email, I can add my own labels. I can edit my own labels super easily. But I think the real power comes in as to how I use those sticky notes. So I've set up a few of them here in my PD label, just to show you some of the things it does. One thing, when you take a note, you can have it create checkboxes, which is really nice, so that as you address things, you can check them off and make sure that you've covered them. You can also go down here and revive them, which is really handy if you decide to turn this into a shopping list. Let's say your spouse, your partner, or your amazing, fantastic coworker who shops at Costco for you once a week, because you no longer have a membership, doesn't want to text you every time and know your list. I am the most spoiled girl in the world, and I have a shared Costco list with a coworker, and I put on my list what I want. I check it off if I don't need it, and she goes and buys everything on my list, delivers it to my house, and I write her a check. I know I'm spoiled. But I can share just this note with her. So if I add a collaborator to this, and I know that Tracy is in this, so I'm just going to add this note with her. Suddenly I have a collaborator, and she can see my Google list. This is the only one she sees. She doesn't see every other note that I have. It's only this one. So let's say that you're working on a group project in your class. Your kids could have a group keep note that delegates everything they need to do, and as things are getting completed, they're checking it off. Or let's say you're teaching virtually and you're working with a teaching partner, and you have all these things you need to do to get a lesson ready. You can check them off, okay? You don't have to have check marks. You can hide the check boxes, and then it's just an easy list. I really like the check boxes for a lot of things. You can, when you're in your email, I was in my email today, and I had somebody that I was talking to about a trade opportunity I have, and I was like, oh, hey, Hope, coordinator here, you know what? We can make a Google Classroom course for just SPED. So as we were emailing, I just started a new note. I accessed it right here in my email. This is my keep. And I could say some of the things we need to get done are to set up the courses, create an intro video. I need to outline the assignments. How does that look for SPED versus the other course that I'm teaching? And then once I went over to keep, here's that note. This is that exact note that I was composing in my email, okay? The other thing I can do is this one right here. I opened Keep on my phone, and I'm really famous at driving down the road listening to a podcast, and they recommend books or another podcast. And before I would try to like text myself so that I could remember it and try not to crash and be illegal in my town. Well, if I open up Keep on my phone, I can do it on my computer too, but on my phone, I can take an audio note. And then as I'm driving, I can just tell myself what I want to remember and go back to it later. And it's a lot safer than me trying to go in there and type something. If I'm in a keep, this is just the back of a book. I just took a picture of something. I added a picture in a keep note. Let's say that I had a sticky note. Oh, let's try it with this right here. 3 minutes, I can do this. I've got a note of notes that I've been taking during this presentation just so I'd remember to go back to things if I needed to. I'm gonna grab a picture of this and you'll see it in 1 second. Maybe if my camera will focus. There we go. So I grabbed my picture. Oh, it's really blurry. But there's the picture that I just took on my phone. And you can see it's really blurry. But what I can try to do is I can go in here and grab my image text. So I could take my super sloppy notes. And you can see that it didn't work very well because I have super sloppy notes. But it grabs what it thinks it can read. And I'll show it to you better on this guy right here where I already did that on the back of my book cover. So it grabs that. And then what I can even do is I can copy that to Google Docs. And it's just going to create a Google Doc in my Drive. And then when I open my document, boom, here's exactly what came out of my keep. So now it's a document that I could start to type. So if I have students that maybe struggle with typing or struggle with making outlines or getting their ideas started, I could be like, hey, grab a Chromebook, grab a computer, and grab an iPad, whatever, and just go talk into Keep, and then maybe try to organize it in there. For me, I mean, if you have a computer, your students could absolutely voice record right into Docs. But if all they have is a phone at home, this would be an easy way for them to get kind of their thoughts out and then share it. And you can see it just copies it in here with no fanciness, no anything. One of my friends really likes to take a keep note and share it with her students. And so maybe she shares this with all of her students. And they make a copy and then they just start typing on this note. So they maybe they tell a story of what's happening here on the note and then they send it to Docs. That way they don't spend 45 minutes deciding what font they want to use, if they want to center it or not. It's really just getting down to that writing activity and honing them into that one skill. So I fire hosed you. I still did not get to the end by any stretch. But you have everything here that you can use and it's yours. I have definitely compiled these from my own experiences, from other conferences. If I got it from somewhere else, I really tried to give credit where it was due. If I linked it, I tried to give the names. I provided some additional resources in here. And then I also put my email and my Twitter, Instagram. I really don't do anything in school, but if you like golden retrievers, I have cute dogs. I put that on there. And then the last thing I did is I did keep my credits page for my slides template because I definitely did not design that myself. So I made it. It's 4 o'clock on my computer time, so I did make it. I will definitely stick around if you have any questions or anything like that. Thank you for sticking with me for 3 hours and listening to me, and definitely throw some samples into that Moodle course, and I'll give you some Moot coins for it because that's really fun. And if it's time for you to go, thank you so much and have a really, really, really great day. I really appreciate it. I was super nervous to start, but you guys are awesome. And Ellen, thank you
Yep.
so much.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's going to have to go back and watch this again, and probably a second time to get everything that you went over. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
One thing I did check on while you were going over that last part, I did check on how we at NC State are using Google inside of Moodle, and one thing that we do have, we have 2 integrations for Moodle for Google. One is the Google Drive repository plugin, so that whenever you go to create a file activity type in your course, in addition to looking at the files that you have loaded onto Moodle, under your account in Moodle, you can also connect your Google Drive to it and pull straight from your Google Drive and drop those files right into your course. And there's also another Google Drive plugin that does some document conversion
Super
for
cool.
Google Drive documents for Moodle. So, so if you're interested in those two, and that there may be some other Google integrations out there, but just check with your Moodle admin about
Yeah.
getting that set up. But yeah,
Oh,
it's
thank
pretty
you.
very useful. Yeah.
That's super cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's especially useful during exams or projects where a student has to submit a file or document or paper or whatever. Very, very useful for that. So.
Yeah, that would, I never even thought about it like that. You are exactly right. Hey, Sandra, I'm going to answer your question by sharing my screen again, because I know that I did not talk about this. And the really cool thing about using Google Chrome and Google Tools is you can pretty much get to any tool by going like tool.google.com. So to get to Keep, I just start typing keep.google.com and it brings up my page for Keep. One of the really cool things in here is notice that my little Keep guy hangs around in like docs and in email. That's where my little guy, I can access him easily. And so in docs, what I can do is I can grab him. I just clicked on my Keep icon. And when I start taking a note, it's the book Educated, which is amazing if you haven't read it. And I just do a note. This book is great. And I say I'm done. When I go back to my Keep, I have a note that has that, and it has a link to that document. So I can easily access what I was talking about. This has been really handy for me at conferences because I'll grab someone's presentation and then I'll just, you can see I've dumped a ton of them into here, into my notes, and I don't always know what it was. So what I've started doing is instead of just dumping this, I go into the document and add it to Keep that way. That way it's linked and I can get back to it super easily. So like I said, keep.google.com. I could also go to slides.google.com. Same thing, it takes me to my homepage for slides, drive.google.com, mail.google.com. Any tool.google.com is the shortcut. Okay. All right, it's 4:05. I don't know if it's time for social hour or just time to rest your brain. But thank you guys again so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you for the next few days in these awesome classes. I'm done now. I get to just be a straight learner.
Okay, yeah, the social hour starts at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So depending on what time zone you're at, so that's when it starts.
Okay, so we have 3 hours to rest and then go socialize.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you
Thanks.
go.
Thanks, Shirt Twin.
All right, I've got to go ahead and close this out. So everybody have fun, and don't forget this has been recorded, so you can go back and watch it later as soon as Ryan or whoever is going to make that available. So.
Great. Thank you so much.
You bet. You bet.
Awesome. Have a great
Right,
one, you
bye.
guys.